PR generally, it can be used for many different reasons. It really does depend on what you need, but ultimately it is about visibility. It is about building a brand, be that for a service, a product, or a person. And it is about, getting that person out there in front of their right target audience.
Welcome to the Kelly Lundberg podcast. I'm your host, business mentor, personal brand and style expert, who is on a personal mission to inspire a minimum of 5 people daily to take inspired action, to do something different, or just to show up as the best person they aspire to be. So if you're one of my 5 a day because you're inspired by the content that we're sharing, then please subscribe to this podcast or come over and say hi on Instagram. Tell me what it is that you love and what action you've been inspired to do. So in today's episode, I'm speaking to a really good friend and someone who inspires me greatly in business, and that is Natasha Hatherall-Shaw. She's the founder and CEO of TishTash Marketing and Public Relations. So Natasha, or Tash as she likes to be known, has over 20 years experience in the marketing, media and PR world. And honestly, she has a real, genuine passion for people and understanding what makes them tick. She was joined by her managing director of TishTash, which is Polly Williams, who Tash always refers to affectionately as her work wife. They've got such a brilliant partnership. And the TishTash family, they are always so kind to me. I really feel part of their family, and it's just, I can't wait to share with you what we discussed, which is common misconceptions in the world of PR, why you need PR, and how it can help you increase your visibility and awareness. So let's find out what the girls had to say. Welcome to the show, girls. Welcome, Tash. Welcome, Polly. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you for having us today. We're very excited to have a cuppa and chinwag with you.
Yeah, and it's nice to have two. I've done so many one-to-ones, but to have both of you on. So this is kind of going to be a different dynamic. So maybe I'll start with how we actually met and how we're here in this spot. So Tash, you and I met at the Grazia Style Awards, which we were just chatting about this, just pre-recording, was back in 2014. Now, I have to give you my very first thoughts of, I remember being introduced. I was doing a piece for, I think it was Yahoo at the time, and I was interviewing all the celebrities on the red carpet, the fashion celebrities. And I just remember being told, you need to go and meet this lovely woman called Tash. She's going to be standing there for you on the red carpet. And literally, I arrived, you were there and ushered me around everywhere. You need to speak to this person, you need to speak to this person, you need to speak to this person. And I was like, Tash needs to be my friend. That was my first memory of meeting you. What was it like the other way around?
It's funny because obviously, I think it was a very, very last minute addition to the schedule. And I've been told Kelly's going to come and cover the red carpet. And obviously I'd seen you in magazines, winning awards. And I'd always been a bit fangirling from the side. And so it was kind of like, oh my God, I get to meet Kelly tonight on the red carpet. And then, we got to co-host on the red carpet. So it was very, very cool. But no, I was like, definitely she needs to be my friend. I hope she likes me. So.
Oh, and it totally was. And then we've been friends ever since. And I think, with relationships and stuff, we've had, relationships through personal, relationships through business, and it's just, I think it's just so nice to see how it grows. So to start off, I'm going to say congratulations because you won some awards. And maybe give the listeners a bit of a backstory as to what it is that you actually do, where you're at now, and then tell us what awards you actually just picked up.
Okay, well, I will start and I'll let Polly then share my story. So TishTash is my agency. We've just turned 9 years old. We are a leading independent marketing communications PR agency in the Middle East region. We are obviously our journey. It's all about the journey, as I'm learning in the past week. We are a lifestyle PR agency, but we have very, very specialist areas in terms of our main focus is beauty, health and wellness. And then we have a little sister called TishTash Tots that is mum and family focused. And then the thing that threads all the way through this is we're very, very, as an agency, we are female focused, fiercely female. We're female owned, we're female run. We have a team of nearly 30 now, amazing women working for us. So that's the kind of thread that really goes through everything that we do. We want to tell stories of amazing women, amazing products, services for a very sort of female kind of audience. So, and that wasn't how we started out. I mean, genuinely, I think as every business, we started out as a broader lifestyle agency. Obviously, my background is very, very beauty focused, as is, Polly's is kind of, very lifestyle beauty focused too. We'd both worked for some of the, top agencies, top brands in the world. And I think it was like, it's like 5 years ago now, sort of Polly came into my life. And I think I'd always been on this. I mean, there's so much I could say here, but I'd always, as you and I always talk about, Kelly, like it's the entrepreneurial business owner journey is probably one of the loneliest journeys as well. And for me, it was kind of, I'd always made the decision to have a business on my own terms. I've never taken investment. I've always done it, so it's in my control. But then at the same time, it is often lonely when you're on this journey together. And so, but for me, finding the right person that I wanted to go on this journey with was really, really important to me. And then when Polly and I met, it was obviously we met through friends as well. And we just had a coffee and I was just like, I just kind of, just straight away, that gut instinct I always talk about as well. It's like, I just loved her and I kind of knew. And then at the time it was like, I couldn't afford her. And then like, it was, Polly can probably tell her side of the story as well. But, we both went away and I think it was about a month later, I was like, I still think about you. and then we're like, let's just, and Polly was like, well, it's not all about the money. Let's find a way. And so we kind of, Polly joined TishTash and within a month we'd literally, she's amazing at winning business. And so in a month we'd won enough business to pay her what she wanted anyway. And the rest is history, right, Polly?
Yeah, I think really important to add though is that I was actually 3 months pregnant when I came to you, or 2 months pregnant. And I think this is such an important story to tell because it just shows what an amazing person Tash is and what an amazing business she's created. Because the fact that I was pregnant and obviously going to have to go off on maternity leave, her not even knowing me, knowing what I was capable of, the fact that I was due to have, a baby 7 months later or whatever, didn't faze her at all. It didn't stop her from taking me on. It didn't have any kind of negative effect. And I think I was so grateful at that time to find a place that I wanted to work and that I could see this amazing, it was a great agency anyway, but it was small back then, see this amazing potential and to have this woman that was like, that doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that I want you in my business. And I think from then on, straight away, I knew that TishTash was an incredible place because, she was at the helm of it. So yeah, that's really something that I will always remember. If we ever part ways, which I hope we never do, I hope we're in business together forever, but if we ever part ways, that will always be my overriding memory.
Love it.
I think since as well, like we've hired other pregnant people and they always look at us a bit strange, don't they? Like, what, you'll hire me? And we're like, yeah, why has that got anything to do with it? You're like the right person for the job. So yeah.
I know on so many of your posts and stuff, or when you talk about on sort of social media, you're fondly called the work wife. So what is your role within TishTash?
From a business perspective, it's very much growing the agency in the right way. So helping us grow. And as Tash said, Tash started the business with just her and a couple of other people. And now we're nearly at 30 people to service the business. So growing it, but growing it in the right way. And then kind of non-business side, is really about supporting Tash and allowing her to, Tash is the kind of creative force of the agency and she's always got amazing ideas. So I think, a big part of my role is to help facilitate those ideas, rein her in sometimes, but help make sure that we, continue to grow, but enable all of her ideas to come true while making money for the business at the same time. So, and of course, manage the team. We have grown massively and it's a lot to take on. And, we sit there for entire days just talking to our team because we care about them. And so I take a lot of that stuff on as well because it's difficult to run a business and, care about your team and care about making money and keeping the ethos what it is, this. As we grow and we win awards, which is great, we still want to be that small agency feel. We still want people to feel like that they're part of a family. And that can be difficult to navigate as you grow and get bigger. But yeah, keeping everyone on that track, I guess, and facilitating Tash in her crazy dreams and helping them all come true. That's pretty much my job.
I mean, she keeps me grounded as well. She tells me how old I am every day and, just things like that, and how much younger she is than me.
I certainly think from the outside looking in, so I know I do a lot of work with you guys or girls, I should say, but it does definitely have that family feel. Like TishTash is a family. And even as someone that I'm not an employee, I am part of I really do feel part of your family as a client, as a friend, as, a woman who's in business. And that's hard to achieve that on a sort of a bigger perspective. So the awards came in and they were well deserved. So what did you actually win last week? And what was the award ceremony?
It was the PRCA Awards. They're like the leading global PR association. And we won Best Medium Agency. And I was highly commended for PR Leader. And then we won Best Ethical and COVID-19 Initiative for our SME Rise Collective, which was something we did during last year in lockdown and COVID times to give marketing support to small businesses.
Amazing. So congratulations. I was rooting for you. I was online watching them. It was so amazing to be part of it. So I think maybe for those that are listening, maybe let's break it down. What is PR? Okay, because I mentor people and they're like, I need PR. And I'm like, do you really need PR? What is it that you think you need? So maybe can we break it down for the beginner that's like, do I really need it? What is it? And then we can take it from there.
Shall I take this one?
I think we'll probably double act on it, but I think one of the greatest challenges that we have as well is obviously, PR is definitely evolving. What it used to be, what it is now is very different. People's interpretation of what PR is varies. And so sometimes, when our job, when people come to us, like you say, is like, we have to work out if really PR is what they want and need. So, and I think, actually the education side of things is kind of, a big side of things for us. Because PR generally, it can be used for many different reasons. It really does depend on what you need, but ultimately it is about visibility. It is about building a brand, be that for a service, a product, or a person. And it is about, getting that person out there in front of their right target audience, to achieve whatever goals that person business wants to. For some, we have a lot of people come to us and obviously they've got a new product or a service. Maybe it's new to the market. Maybe it's kind of established globally and they need to build awareness in the Middle East. So it's about getting that brand into the hands of media influencers. So through them, we reach their target audience. Some businesses, they want in the future, they need to have, or they want to have investment. And so they have to build up in terms of credibility and awareness for their business. They need to get a profile in the media, business media, consumer media. Because obviously when people, the angel investors or investment companies look to invest, that what's the first thing they do? Like everybody, they Google and, see, what's written about those brands and companies. So there's lots and lots of reasons why, people would, want PR. But I think, there's lots of kind of, I think daily Polly and I deal with challenges around what PR is, what it can deliver. It's like, you're not going to, I think Polly's probably got kind of a lot to say here as well, particularly she spearheads all of our new business. But, PR is not going to change your business overnight. And that's the one thing I say to everybody, if you want more Instagram followers or which, PR is probably not going to do that. You're best spending your money elsewhere. And we tell people really honestly that PR is probably not what they need at this time. So, but yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Polly, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I've got some thoughts. No, I think I was actually just writing an article about this morning. But essentially, I think, of course, everybody cares about sales more than they care about anything. Bottom line, how they're going to make money. And I think a lot of people that are new to the business or have their own small businesses come in and think that as a PR agency, we are going to change their life and we're going to increase their sales by 500%. And we really wish we could do that. But ultimately, I think, again, as Tash said, it's an education exercise because we can't do that. We can't solely be responsible for increasing sales for a business. And ultimately, before you can even think about increasing sales, you need to get all your building blocks in place. And one of those building blocks is awareness, people knowing what you are and what you stand for. And then after that, also feeling like what you stand for is what they stand for. And therefore, they're going to want to buy your product. So I think, unfortunately, people think that PR can be a bit of a magic wand and it just takes a couple of weeks. And sadly, that's not, it is a long-term investment in a PR agency.
What do you normally work with people? Is it a minimum of 3 months? Is it a minimum of 6 months? Like, what do you find? Because everything in life is about consistency, whether it's consistency from posting, consistency in the marketplace. What have you found that's been a bit of a sweet spot for people?
Generally, the minimum we would do for anybody is 3 months.
Yeah.
Generally, we'd say you need at least 12 months to really sort of step change in terms of awareness and actually see a difference in your business. But so what we generally find is most people, particularly when they're not worked with you before, they're new to PR, they want to do 3 months just to feel comfortable with you. And then usually, they renew and go on to longer contracts. A lot of our clients, we've had for 4 years, 8 years, 9 years, even still. So, and they get that it's a journey as well.
Yeah.
And I think that, your brand story and your brand message will always change over time. And that's why you need an agency to be there telling your story. Ultimately, we are storytellers. It's kind of like a glorified sales job. We're there to kind of promote you, but ultimately it's about telling the right stories. And you can't tell one story and then disappear and expect that to be enough. So it's a tricky one, but I think, yes, ultimately we would want every client to sign up for 12 months and to carry on, because that's where you're going to see the long-term changes and the growth that you need and the sales that you need. But unfortunately, especially in this market at the moment, a lot of people don't have those budgets. And as Tash said, we're always really honest as well. We have a lot of small businesses that come to us and say, I need PR. And like you said, Kelly, once they understand what PR really is, they kind of go, oh, okay, is that what I need? Maybe I should be investing my money in digital ads or my social media or, whatever that might be. So I think it's really important for a PR agency in this day and age as well to be transparent with people. Because I think it's all too easy to take someone's money because they say they want a PR agency and then, it never works out the way they want and you have an unhappy client, which nobody wants.
I think that's a really good point there. Just bringing back to, when you've got a new product or you want more visibility, the one thing that people are going to do is they're going to Google. And I see a lot in my personal brand and presentations, which I know that you've heard, is you are who Google says you are. And one of the best ways to improve this is to create more of a digital footprint, which means the way to do that is to have PR and someone that can put you in front of the right people. So let's just say someone starting out in business. Like when I started in my business, I didn't know, someone told me I needed to write a press release. And this was 17 years ago. You need to write a press release. And I had no idea, and I Googled what it was. Say someone's just starting out. What are some tips you could say that maybe they don't have the budget for an agency? What's some easy things that they could do themselves that would make life a little bit easier?
I think writing a press release these days is not the first thing you need to start with. Yeah. Now it's like, do you have a social media page?
Yeah, okay.
That is what we, now, especially if you're a small business, that's where you need to be. Because as well as people Googling you, they will also go straight onto Instagram and try and find you. So again, it depends what product, if you're a product or a service, and of course products perform better on social sometimes than services, especially in the early stages. But I think, first of all, we say, do you have social? Are you talking to your audience on social? Because 9 times out of 10, that's where your audience go. In terms of press releases, Tash is your PR guru, so she's probably best to answer that. But I would always say first, don't think about a press release. That's almost like the second part. The first part is getting your social media and figuring out your messaging on social.
When I wrote a press release, Polly, we still had fax machines. It was that long ago. So.
Before Facebook, before Instagram.
I miss those days when I started out my career in London. It was just it was great faxing press kits.
I remember going into Spinney's on Owasso Road and standing in the corner because I had zero money. And I was standing they had a magazine corner. I don't know if you remember, a bookshop. And I went through all the magazines and wrote down the telephone numbers because there wasn't email addresses. So then I had this because I was being really tight and didn't have the money to actually buy the magazine. And I had all these telephone numbers down. And then I went home and then called people to get an email address. Like the process was, it was so lengthy. And that was in those days. And, now that's where you step in and go, hey, I've got a little black book and I can do this all for you. Anything else you want to add, Tash, if someone's like kind of starting out and maybe they want to save up to have a PR, but what could they do to make your job maybe a little bit easier when they do get round to hiring someone?
I mean, there's so many things, Kelly, someone could do to make our life easier.
Well, tell me a couple. Tell me a couple.
Go on all day. Tash, you want to take that one?
What could they do to make your life easier? And you're like, okay, this is a dream client now because they've done the.
I think, definitely, one of the key things, is to be clear on who you are and what you are. So messaging is one of the key things we work with clients when we first start, and we try and get that clicks. Ideally, you need to agree that, and then that needs to run across all of your communications touch points, be it website, social. So, because we need to be consistent with what else you're doing. So ideally, if you've spent time working on that yourself, that's great, and have a firm view on where you're going. The kind of other thing as well that I think people don't realize is about photographs. And I know you've got a few funny stories on this one, Kelly, as well. But people I wish people realize that the better photography you have, the better coverage you get. I know it sounds really simple, but so many times, we've placed really amazing features and someone said to us, yeah, we've got photos. Now I get everything up front. So I know exactly what I've got. And then when you actually get like a really amazing feature secured in like Forbes or Arabian Business, and then like you get some like really bad like iPhone kind of picture taken kind of, in some what they think was really kind of like filtered and stylish. And it's like, so investing in really, really good press photos, I always, it is so valuable. And if you do it well, as and you wear things that, obviously, you're in the fashion world, Kelly. So, and for you, I know it's really important that you obviously get your photos done regularly. But for most people in the business world, or depending on what they do, you can have a good batch of photos taken that last you up to 5 years if you wear things black with kind of more kind of you can have some good pictures that have got longevity. But just invest. It doesn't have to be expensive, really. There's some really amazing photographers that do profile pictures, but yeah, get great images.
I think also I would just say responsiveness. If you want a PR agency and you think that means that you can just disappear from that part of things, that's not how it works. You need to be on the journey with us. Like, and it sounds like a cliche, but PR is a partnership. And the way the media works here is we work on very tight timelines. So if you're not available to respond to a comment, or if it takes you 3 days to get back on an email, or if you don't pick up your phone, we're essentially never going to be able to give you what you want. So it really is a partnership. You need to be in it with us.
Yeah. And I think we in Polly all the time, we do have this conversation a lot, we're only as good as we're enabled to be, and genuinely, I know that we are great at what we do. But, when we have, for example, a client that doesn't respond at all, doesn't even sign off a press release. So, we need a piece of content to send out. And then for a month, the team chase them repeatedly. We do everything. And then they say, we'll be better. And then we never hear from them again. And then they, at the end of the month, are like, why have I got no coverage? Why has nothing happened? It's like, well, but you didn't actually enable us to do our job. So it is a frustration that we have. And I think, if someone is thinking about embarking on PR, I'd say just make sure you are ready and you have the time to dedicate, because we don't just, we do need support and input from you. Even, if we get a feature secured, yes, we can write well, but still we need to know what your opinion is and get your key bullets or messaging or what your angle would be. So you need to work with us as a partner to get great results.
Awesome. So just in a recap, we've got social pages, so social media awareness, know who you are and have clear messaging so it's consistent, not only so so you can communicate that to it. Photographs, I'm going to touch on that in just a wee bit more in a minute, and responsiveness. So I think there are 4 really clear points that people can go, right, okay, this is the next stage. This is when I'm ready to step up my business, my product, my personal brand. To touch on the photographs, I actually learned the hard way that you needed high quality images many, many years around the fax machine time, Polly. When Emirates Woman asked me, can you send me a high resolution image? And I was like, what is a high resolution image? Bearing in mind our phones didn't have cameras on it. This is probably testament to what you get sometimes. So I went downstairs with my little 2 megabyte pixel camera, took it, went back upstairs, plugged it all in, sent it to them. I was like, here you go. They were like, no, that's rubbish. We can't use that. So I learned the hard way. But honestly, since I've had professional pictures, I've had maybe 4 or 5 front covers, which have been through you guys, in terms of promoting whatever it is through style, through services, business, personal brand. And that is down to great photography. I really want to highlight that a little bit more. So yeah, awesome.
It's about making journalists' lives easy. You know, we're here to support journalists. And if you make their lives difficult, they're just not even going to cover you, you know? So make their lives easy. And that goes back to anyone that doesn't have budget for a PR agency. If you do have some journalist contacts, and what you were saying, still at the back of a magazine, you can get a lot of these contacts. So that hasn't changed in the last however many years it's been. But I do think, make our lives easier, and that makes journalists' lives easier. And that's what's going to get you front covers.
Perfect. So TishTash, we talked about, the niche industry that you're in, and you didn't start by doing that. You know, it's evolved naturally into what it is that you're doing, or evolved into it. When I'm mentoring entrepreneurs, something that they say a lot is, well, I don't want a niche, and I help everyone. And in saying that, it doesn't mean that you don't just work with beauty products. So I just want to kind of go into that sort of why you are in beauty and wellness, and then maybe just that other people organically have come to you through that.
I think my view generally is, as you know, is if, you follow your heart and you do what you love and what you're passionate about, then you do it well. And I think, for me, so that's always been kind of very in my background. And then when we started, we got a few beauty brands, and obviously it's such a massive market here, and it is something genuinely I'm fascinated by, and I find it really interesting. There's always so much innovation, so much change, and I do. So beauty, health and wellness is an area that I love and I'm passionate about. So, whilst we started out broader lifestyle, then very quickly within sort of 2-3 years, we obviously went more niche. But it genuinely is because we love what we do. I mean, there are so many agencies we find, that, maybe they've got a bit of beauty, a bit of fashion, a bit of oil and gas, a bit of corporate. And I think as well, like what we've found is it's very, very different skill sets, what you need to be a PR in, one area versus another. And so I think, we obviously made the decision to specialize. It has been the best decision we made. And I think all of our team who work with us, they come from that background, or they have that passion and love, and they get to, work in an environment and with brands that kind of, are in their interest as well. And then they deliver, better. We obviously, all the journalists, all the bloggers are in our area. So we have formed much deeper relationships with them. Mm-hmm. So there's lots of reasons why I do believe being specialist is the best thing we did. And I mean, I talk about this a lot. For similar things, people always say to us, like, you're not limiting yourself, or you're not like, you're never going to be rich being, a specialist agency. But I think, that's a complete myth. And I think if COVID showed us anything, like, we were probably one of the few agencies that didn't have to make redundancies, didn't have to make cuts, because everyone last year wanted health and wellness, and all of our clients, or the majority, did quite well last year. So being specialist kind of helped us through COVID.
I think also the niche has allowed us to be quite creative. The type of brands that we work with has kind of like opened up a lot of creativity that you wouldn't get working on obviously an oil and gas or something, or a big corporate. And I think it's in that creativity and innovation that other types of brands have come to us, because they've seen what we've been doing. And they've said, I want a bit of that. I don't want the same old that I get from an agency that understands oil and gas, if we're using that as an example, or fashion even. I want someone that's thinking a bit differently. And we've had a lot of, from a new business perspective, a lot of potential clients coming to us saying, look, I know you don't work in F&B. I know you don't work in hotels, but I want you to do what you're doing on your beauty client, on me. I don't want to work with this agency that's a specialist in F&B right now, because they just give me the same thing over and over. They're doing the same for the hotel down the road that they're doing for me. So I think that's what's enabled us to take on some other things as well. We are very lucky. We do remain quite picky on what we take. And I think that's something that Tash has always been very strong on, is follow your gut. Don't take on a client that doesn't follow the same kind of values that you have, because it's never going to end the way you want it to end. So I think we have taken on a few bits and pieces that sit outside of beauty, health and wellness, but we are quite strict on what those things are. And it's about relationships, and if we think we can really innovate for them.
Yeah. And I think for us as well, if it is about, if a lot of the time there's a lot of brands that want to reach our target audience, it is very female focused, or maybe they haven't been historically, but they want to move into that. So generally, yeah, as long as something kind of, there's a reason why. It could be an amazing female founder. It could be, they want that target audience. So yeah, it really, really does come down to kind of whether we feel it is a good fit for us and we feel we could do a great job.
So in short, being niched does not stop you taking on the clients that you want. If it still fits, you would still take them. But in the same sense, it's also allowed you that people know you in the industry for that, and they come to you. Like, you stand out because of that. So I think for any industry that, who's listening to this, it is a case of, well, who is it that you help? So it's back to the messaging that you said earlier. So it's really clear, because that's only going to bring you more clients.
I would also just like to correct Tash in that it still hasn't made us rich, though. We're still waiting for that.
That's coming.
But we're playing the long-term game, right, Polly, right? We're, really good foundations, kind of, not a flash in the pan. We're following all the things we tell people, like credibility, reputation is not built overnight.
Yes, I love it. That's correct.
Tell me about the sort of recent launch to TishTash Talent. How did this come about? Because you mentioned, you would maybe take on a brand that maybe wasn't lifestyle or wasn't skincare or health, but if it had a great female founder. So what is TishTash Talent, and how does that fit in within the family?
Well, it's kind of like we were doing it anyway, but then we just thought we would give it a proper kind of name and kind of little area. So we were already working with some amazing women, female founders, female brand sort of personalities. And then we decided to just package that up into an offering for amazing kind of, we call it like women of substance, women that've got amazing, powerful stories. So it's kind of visibility and profiling kind of packages for women in business. Yeah, to get them out there.
Amazing. Love it. And just maybe while we're on that subject, I'll maybe kind of bring you back into the sort of the personal brand piece, because I think with female founders, and I guess with the TishTash Talent, and the focus being that as much as it's about the product or the service, people want to know the story. We mentioned earlier on, Polly, you were talking about storytelling, and now so much of it is about the person. So you launched during COVID your COVID-19 diaries, which people follow religiously now. And my question to you is really, what value or has there been extra value for you having a personal brand and people finding you through that way? How is that directly related to the business, for example?
Polly, I'm sure, will have some funny anecdotes here. Anyway, she'll keep me grounded. But for me, I mean, it was really, really an accidental thing. I just had a bit of a meltdown and kind of like a massive like rant on Instagram about like the reality of surviving a business very early in lockdown. And then it kind of became a bit therapeutic. And then here we are nearly a year on, and I've literally written every day, I think, apart from 2. And yeah, shared my kind of journey through COVID with everybody, like running a business, dealing with anxiety, and I kept it really raw, honest and real. And, I've shared like crying on the carpet and everything. And I think this one of the things that Polly and I have definitely seen last year that, there's been, in terms of media, that there's far less pages for products and services. People want to see the people behind the brands. It's like that human element is really, really important now. And so generally people are buying people want to hear the stories. And that's kind of the main area that we're working with most brands now, even those that have a product or service, is pulling the founders, the people behind it forward and what they're doing, be it community or on a human kind of level. For us, I would say, it wasn't, obviously, I genuinely did have a meltdown on Instagram, but be careful where that takes you, because you never kind of know. Mine ended up by the end of last year, I won Best Blogger in the Middle East for it, which was a little bit surreal. And it makes me laugh every day. But yes, I think, we have got business out of my diary, even though it is kind of, it does make me and Polly kind of laugh. But people have bought me, and I think they see the fact that they've had a year of me. So I don't think in a year you can really hide the real you. You've kind of seen me warts and all, every kind of, vulnerability. I think people generally have got the sense that I have got integrity. I have got, my client's best interests at heart. And then they get a sense that they seen that I'm the kind of person that they want to represent them and work with. And so, yeah, we have had clients that have come in and said, look, I only want to work with you. I read your diary. At which point Polly does laugh under the table.
My eyes and move on. No, I think like you know, Tash is a really good example of an influential person who is using her influence for good, even though she gets lots of free gifts now as well, which I think she likes. But I think, I think it does definitely has helped our brand, not just in terms of new business, but in terms of reputation as well. She's a true leader now. And I think, she's always been a true leader to us, but she's putting herself out there in an open and raw way. And she would never ask our clients to do something that she wasn't willing to do herself. And I think seeing that vulnerability and that openness and honesty is really powerful. It's also a really hard thing to do. And I think, we have a lot of female business leaders and male as well that say, oh, I don't want to be at the face of my brand. I just want my brand to talk for itself. And
you're that
we kind of coax them out of that and say, but you're really missing a trick. And I think looking at someone like Tash that is doing that every day, no matter how hard it might be some days for her to put herself out there like that, they kind of go, okay, she's doing it. Maybe I can give it a try,
Inspiring. Yeah,
exactly.
I'm very honest, I tell people, I things like for me, like, I hate going on the radio, I hate going on TV. It's like, but then I feel like COVID was the time we said it's now step out of your comfort zone. So that's what my mission was last year, to do all the things that I literally never thought I would do, or I really didn't enjoy. And so that's why I think people, particularly when they're new on their journey, I can talk very authentically with them about, giving it a go and just kind of, and I'm really honest saying, look, I hate this too. This is what helped me, or this is what I find. So I think people kind of, I said, I think, you've got to, whatever you're recommending to clients, you have to be following that advice yourself. So I think people see me out there doing it. And obviously then that kind of, I think it's inspired a few to do it too.
Love it. Well, you are a true inspiration. So as we wrap up, I would love to know, what is one common myth about your job or your profession that you maybe want to debunk? Or maybe you could each give me one.
I think people think we're at parties drinking champagne, having a really, really jolly time every day. And people don't really know, like, the fact that PR is voted in one of the top 5 most stressful jobs year in, year out. There's a reason for that. And I wish I was at parties, but I'm not.
Polly?
I would agree. The glamour element, definitely. I think the biggest myth for me is that, again, back to what we were talking about earlier, that we're going to somehow be miracle workers and kind of like create billions of dollars in sales for companies. That's not what we are, and it's not what we do. So I think that is the biggest myth for me, that PR equals sales.
Well, and the thing is as well, though, it's really hard to track. So I just had this one example I'll give you. And so, the new face activation that you did. Okay. So, you kindly gifted me one, which I use and I love, and it totally works. So I shared it on my social media, and my friends and my mum have bought one in the UK. My friends have bought it here, but there's no way of tracking it. So I was telling my friend the other day about, we were talking about the new face and our eyebrows and everything that's going on. And it transpired from that one post, that one activation that was sent to me, I know 10 people who've bought New Face. Yeah. Globally. But there is no way for you to go back to New Face and be like, so this one person in the Middle East did 10 and this one did. It's really hard. And that must be, I think, one of the hardest things in your job, to track the ROI and be like, well, we can definitely get you this, because for sure it has increased their sales, but not just in the Middle East, globally.
Yeah, and I think there's lots of ways like trackable codes and things, but as we know, right, it's not always like, we might not always be in the market today for something. We might not remember that code, but it could be in a couple of months, like, oh yeah, I actually saw that somewhere. And now maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm going to treat myself. It's a birthday gift. So yeah, and so it's not as if, you didn't use that code, so we can't track it, but actually you still influence that person to being on their radar for the future when they needed it. And, I think that is one of the biggest challenges. And that's why we say to clients, that's why you need continuity. You need to be out there, because it doesn't mean like one post kind of cause and effect. It is like, it's a much longer kind of journey.
Yeah. I think also what's really interesting is our clients say, but I need to see sales, but they don't share any sales data with us. So if they shared it with us, for example, we could say, okay, but look, 2 weeks ago, we did this activation. And if you look at sales, you are starting to see a spike here, because that's what, that is what happens.
Yeah.
It does work. But we don't very rarely get given access to that kind of data. So a lot of what people want, we don't have the information to be able to prove to them that it's working.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people don't necessarily trust the process. And I think that's a big part of PR. You have to trust that we know what we're doing and we're getting it right. But yeah, I mean, I think, of course, good PR does increase your sales. But as Tash said, it doesn't happen overnight. You can't necessarily see it very clearly in like a sudden massive spike that comes out of nowhere. And it's a process. Trust the process.
Love it. Well, I think that is a great lasting comment. And it's been so good to chat to both of you. Where can people find you if they want to, if they do all their homework and get themselves ready to look at hiring you, or just find out more? What's your contact details?
Our website is tishtash.com. You can find us on social media at TishTash Talks. We're on all the usual channels, or you can find me at natasha@tishtash.com or polly@tishtash.com.
Awesome. And what about, where do we find the diary, Tash?
That's on my personal Instagram, which is @TashHatherall. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, have a great afternoon, girls. It was so lovely to speak to you, and I'll see you tomorrow for a meeting.
Take care.